And the countdown to Election Day continues. Welcome back. Local Decision 2024. I'm Eric Nelson. Thanks for joining us. And Craig Johnson is in the North Metro TV studios with us, running for Centennial School Board. Good to see you, Craig. And we'd like to open up by letting the candidates tell the viewers about themselves and why you've made this choice to run for the school board.
Well, Eric, I'll tell you, it's one of those type of things where you look behind you and don't see people lining up to run for school board. And so I made the choice 2 years ago to fill a term that was left when someone decided to retire or resign. And, you know, I'm the type of person that wants to give to the community as best I can. And I looked behind me, didn't see the people that I figured were going to be running, and I took that. And it's been a great decision on my part. I really enjoy our school district. We have a pretty functional school district. We have a great superintendent. He did not pay me to say that either, just so you know. And it's just watching progress from what happened at COVID and where things were happening. The opportunity's there again, and I feel honored to have that other opportunity again.
So what did you learn? What were some of the key takeaways of being on the board, briefly?
Well, I learned there's a lot of boards that are not very functional. Activism seems to be a big thing on a lot of school boards. And while I have my values, while I'm not going to give up my values, I realize that being on a school board, you don't have to be an activist if you're focused on the kids. And that was my focus to figure out. And again, people on the school board and I don't necessarily vote the same in November, but we found a way to get along. I throw a little humor in there once in a while just to kind of break things up, but we have a great staff, and it made it very easy to want to run this time.
I feel like locally in the Twin Cities, but also nationally, suddenly, if you're on a school board, you're more in the spotlight now than ever because of what you just said, activism and, you know, some polarization, if you will. Do you feel that?
I don't feel it on our board. I do know school board members across the country and the state, and there's more of it in there. I would have been able to handle it. I've been involved in the community and different things, but I've also tried to, you know, you find people, at least that's my approach. I try to find people I don't agree with, and I embrace differences. So when I meet somebody that may not be on the exact same page as me, I try to figure out what we have in common. And that's been my approach and why I don't feel like activism is something I'm focused on.
Have you been able to build those bridges with somebody maybe who sees it differently than you? Have you come together?
Absolutely. Whether it's been school board, whether it's been any other race that around the state, I do have conversations with people. I have them until I don't have a conversation. If somebody wants to tell me I'm wrong or that's a stupid thing, then our conversation is over. But if someone doesn't see exactly what I see and wants to tell me about it, I'll listen. Doesn't mean I'm going to necessarily go that avenue, but I'm willing to listen because I may learn something. Who knows?
Do you have kids in the Centennial school system?
I did previously. I had two. One just graduated 2 years ago, another graduated about 6 years ago. And I got to see the benefits of the district. My daughter did very well, very helpful, and she's going to graduate in 3 years from the University of Minnesota. Part of that has to do with her, and part of that has to do with this district.
That's good. Congratulations. Top needs in the Centennial School District right now, in your opinion?
Well, I think, first of all, we're not the richest district, okay? And I mean, while we have nice houses and things around there, we don't have a lot of businesses. So, and then as far as state funding, we don't get quite as much as some other districts do. So, not that it's a need. I mean, there's always, we can find a use for the money, but we have a very good finance department. I think it's just, how can we teach the kids? They've changed the reading curriculum. I'm very happy about that. Because if kids don't learn how to read by the time they're in 4th grade, their whole career or school is there. So that part of it, we need to improve our achievement. I think we're heading in the right direction there. I really just think the other part is culture. That's the other part, the reason there is I get to know people. As my wife will say to me, sometimes I talk too much. But my goal is to, just try to reflect on what's best for the kids. Someone might want to go one direction, I want to go the other. Hopefully we're both focused on the end result.
The budget, that's never fun, but it's reality. Do you have budget priorities?
Of course we do. It's a matter of, for me, it's spending the money in the classroom, whether it's the teachers, it's the students. We struggle with, like others, like the infrastructure, the buildings, those type of things. But as I said before, our administration does a good job of looking long-term. I've heard a lot of school districts that came out of COVID, and now they're saying they're broke, they're in debt. How come a district like ours, that doesn't have a lot of money to begin with, is not struggling? And so I think that's an important part of our school district. We know what we have and what we need to do.
You mentioned COVID. Do you feel like we're still playing catch up when it comes to the pandemic? Because it was devastating for some kids, and
it was.
It's not that long ago.
No, I think we still are to a certain extent, because obviously kids had to work from home. They weren't supervised. The curriculum, some kids need that togetherness with other kids. We're catching, but here's the factor for us. We're trying not to use that as an excuse. It was an interruption, wasn't great, but I think we found a way to have our kids refocus. And I think our achievement relative to some other districts that have a high level of people wanting to move into their district, I'll just tell you, we had, I believe in the last week before school, we had 92 kids that joined. And so part of that has to do with people in the district, but we also get quite a few from other districts. So I think we're handling it pretty well. And so my hope is we can build off of that. No excuses. I'm not an excuse person, and I think we're doing pretty well with that.
So the demographics have changed over the years in that district. You have a lot of kids from different backgrounds. How do you address the needs of everybody in the Centennial School District, make them feel like they're valued and welcomed?
Well, it's really a great question, Eric. It really comes down to what we've done is we've, in the communities, well, 3 specific communities, Hispanic, the Asian community, and Black community, Somali, we actually have representatives. So what we're trying to do is be able to communicate with these families, okay, in a manner. I mean, they help other students as well, but by having them be able to communicate with those families, what's the best way to communicate with those families? There might be a language barrier. Our district is doing, again, I don't want to brag too much about Centennial, but there are a lot of things because I've learned from other school districts. And that's an area we've been focused. We're growing. We used to be a pretty substantially Caucasian district. That's changing actually quite a bit. And so we're ready for it with those individual community leaders. And it's helped us get some of these kids up to speed a little faster.
Do you believe that school curriculum, certainly that's been a hot button issue, what should be taught, what shouldn't be taught, what books should be in the library, what books shouldn't be? Mm-hmm. Where do you land on that?
Well, I land on appropriate. What's most appropriate? I keep hearing about book banning because, they want to limit anybody who wants to limit access to books. But I think as kids are growing up, there's certain things. I mean, today with social media, they're learning a lot more than they did back in my day. Okay, but I still think we need to keep that beyond arm's length, at least for the time being. I believe all the things that are happening with different ideas on who they are, what they are, anything related to that, we really just need to explain, talk about, but the in-depth part of it, I think we need to leave out to the parents and the community. And so we got to focus on the education part of it. If we go too much into the social Some cases, distractions. I think it's going to not bring the results we want.
The core issues are probably always going to be their reading, writing, arithmetic. I think most people would agree on that.
Correct.
What about, say U.S. history, where some of it is not pretty, as you know? How do you teach that without making some kids feel guilty, but also honoring the others who maybe know that it happened and it needs to be acknowledged? That seems to be a sticky point these days.
Yeah, I think without revisit or changing history in that, because I'm not sure U.S. history, the way it's been taught to us, is perfect. Okay, I believe that there's some things, but I also, when we do this, you have to teach kids. You don't want to tell them what they need to know. You want them to think, right? And that aspect of it, I think we do need to challenge some of this once in a while and say that. But I think sometimes there's been too much. This was the real history. This wasn't the real history. When I was in college, one of the things that really helped me was a class. I'm not going to go into specifics what class it was, but they challenged us. What side are you on? I took the opposite side because I wanted to learn. So I think we need to challenge our kids. Here is the history. There's probably some things that have happened in history that maybe aren't being recorded correctly or exact. We want to teach our kids to think. And so I think if we can do that, then we're not trying to teach them way over here or way over here. We need to challenge them to think.
I know you've been out door knocking and trying to talk to potential voters. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing positives on our district, okay? I'm hearing little things here and there about, maybe it's about race. I'm interested in hearing about it. My job is not a manager, so I can't go in directly and make changes. But what I can do, basically our position's to advise and approve. Okay, that's how we get involved. I'm not going to say I go too much outside that, but I do want to let the administration know what I'm hearing. Okay, some of this is a one-off stuff, but I want to make sure it's one-offs. I want to make sure it's not what our district is doing as a whole. And what I'm finding is we're pretty transparent, at least to me, when we discuss these things. And we've handled some issues that it's not lacking transparency, but not everybody has to know exactly what happened and specifics. There's privacy laws, first of all, but the secondary part of it is we just need to know. We can't assume everything is exactly the way it is or what we want. We have to talk about it, and I found that to be very open.
And you mentioned before the start of the interview a lot of kids trying to come into the district. So what does that say? It must say you're doing something right.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, it's the academics. They've seen that, and that's one of the big things. People moving to Minnesota. Okay, what's the best school districts? Best school districts, why? Is it the most open district? Is it the one that's got the best academics? Are we seeing kids that are doing very well and going to four-year colleges? Or in our case, it's that, but it's also, we're now working with manufacturing, trying to get our kids access to manufacturing, a little bit of medical, and a little bit of IT. Four-year college is fantastic. I went to it. Whether or not it was the perfect thing for me at the time, it's worked out pretty well. But we need to let kids know that four-year college isn't the only thing to do.
Teachers referring to their students by personal pronouns. What's your opinion on that?
It's mixed. I'll just say, respect is an important part of it. I believe teachers, if that's what the kid's asking and the teacher believes that and wants to do it that way, I just don't want the disrespect if someone makes a mistake and says she when they're they. So I'm open to it if it's being asked of the teacher and the teacher can show some respect, but I don't, it's not something I'm going to grasp totally.
And another issue, and it's been going on for decades, but bullying. It seems like now with everything out there in cyberspace and social media that's more prevalent. How can a district get ahead of that if you can? How can you combat it?
Well, again, culture comes back to culture and letting people understand there are different people in this world, whether they came from a different place, whether they believe in something different. I think we need to address some of these things, at least that there is. Our middle school does a good job of building, trying to bring kids together, talk about things. I think we can improve that. I'll be honest with you, I was not bullied in the sense of directly, but I do know people, friends that were bullied. In fact, there's someone, I'll just say someone within the school district that I've talked to about bullying. They were bullied. And so we had a pretty long discussion about that. And we just have to teach kids respect. We're partnering with parents, but I think there's some things we can do without taking over the kids' lives, but just saying, hey, this kid's different. They've decided this. And that brings us into mental health. You know, how important is mental health? Whether it's the teachers or the students. I mean, all of us have mental health issues. Ours may not be visible to you and I. I have anxiety. A lot of people have anxiety. That's one of the things that sometimes holds me back. So we need to address it as best we can, but we also can't do everything. We can't make it the village. We just have to do the best we can.
Finally, tell the viewers why they should vote for you, Craig.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm somebody who didn't get involved in this for myself. I'm not as a political activist. My foot walks right up to the line. My values don't change. But I think what we've done well over the past 2 years is we've built a functional board. We can talk, we can chat, we can laugh, we can disagree. And so that's what I want to continue. One of my groups that I focus on is called CALC, which is Centennial Area Learning Center, and the Pines, which is more of an alternative school. I took that as one of my projects because those are the kids that probably are the highest risk, but they're also the best opportunities. And so I will continue to be the same person I've been, and I think I've probably surprised some people out there of how I've handled things. Kind of hard to tell my political alliances on the board. And I will continue to do that, focus on the kids, and build culture, and build as strong as we can on an achievement level.
All right. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it.
All right, very good. He's Craig Johnson, running for Centennial School Board, and this is Local Decision 2024.